Hello everybody, hope everybody's doing great today. Appreciate those of you who've been watching this video. I hope you enjoy it. And before I begin, just let me tell you, I'll buy that for $1. Alright, so today we're talking about Robocop. The first time I seen Robocop, I was about 10 or 11 years old. And so I just recently watched it again, so I figured I would talk about it. This is kind of like, I call these like a retro reviews, because I've seen these movies before a long time ago. Try to pick a movie I've seen like 10 or 15 years and then rewatch it. So then I can just kind of give you my impressions the first time I saw it, and then if I liked it then, and then my impressions of it when I watched it here recently, and if I thought it was better or worse than when I watched it as a kid, or 10 or 15 years ago, I should say. Anyway, so yeah, Robocop, like I said, I watched it when I was 10 or 11 years old. And the things that really stuck out to me when I was that age was that saying, I'll buy that for $1. And also, the other part is when at the end, when one of the villains falls into some toxic waste and he turns all like a rubber bandish, you know, his skin's all stretchy and stuff. As a kid, 10 or 11, man, I thought that was freaky. It really freaked me out. The other thing I remember was that first Robocop protocol thing they had, that just shot up the guy in the office. Man, that was kind of frightening for me as a 10 or 11 year old. So if you haven't seen Robocop, where in the world have you been? But I'll just let you know what the plot line. Robocop is basically about, it's supposed to take place in Detroit, and the crime is like really high, and the government, city officials are trying to figure out a way to get law and order back in Detroit. So in order to do this, they figured they would have like a robot start policing the city. They had one experiment. I forget what the name of the robot was, some kind of weird number. Really malfunctions, and so they go with plan B, which they take a dead cop, a cop that recently died, and they kind of make him half machine. He's like a cyborg, basically, half machine and half robot, and they program him to really fight crime. Back in the 80s, as I remember it, when it comes to these kind of things, it was always about like trying to get crime under control. You see this in like even in like a comedies like Police Academy. The first one was all about trying to get civilian. Was that the one where they get civilians, like civilians, to join the police force because they need more policemen to patrol the streets. You got cities like you had not cities but movies like New York. Was it Escape from New York, where New York came so crime ridden and stuff, and you had Kurt Russell's character Snake going there to rescue, I believe, the president, if my memory serves me right. So it was all about trying to. A lot of these movies back in the 80s was trying to increase law enforcement to bring down crime, because crime in the 80s was pretty high, especially in those major cities like New York, Detroit, Chicago, and it seems like there for a while crime was going down, but if you listen to the news, it's like the crime waves heating back up. But today's way of fighting crime is a lot different than the way they thought about fighting crime back in the 80s. And so this is kind of like a thing that I think these writers were trying to come up with. You know, maybe we should put robots out on the streets, you know, and see how they would be able to just come up with like different ways to control crime. And so in this science fiction movie, we have a cyborg going out there laying down the law, and they pick Murphy, played by Peter Weller, to be the experiment, the cop. We get to see him before he becomes Robocop. He's a nice, clean cop, you know. He always wants to do what's right. He has a family, has a wife and a son. And to me, one of the most sentimental parts of this movie is when he starts to remember his life before he died. He visits his own house, and even as a kid, it's really resonated with me. You know, he's visiting his house. He's remembering his time he had with his son, you know, the Halloween picture, and this the brief memories he had, the good memories he had spending with his wife. I've really, you know, it's really heartfelt and really brought to really care about this character, and really got to show us the lives of policemen. Like, they're not just out there on the streets fighting crime, but they also have their own personal lives, their own families that they're trying to take care of and that they love and stuff. And so really brought like the human element to policemen. And I really enjoyed that part of this movie. I thought it's a very important part, and I'm kind of glad they wrote that into this part. But we also got to see like the political part of this, how you get the political fighting of people trying to gain more power. You know, we have our two main city officials. The old guy, you know, was it Dick Jones, I think was the character's name. You know, he's basically the next in line to take over this corporation that is that invents ways for either police force, but it looks like there's also for the military as well. And then you got the young up and coming, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, the young up and coming city official, you know, who's trying to displace him, become the next number 2. And I really enjoyed his character. He was played by, looking at my notes here, actually looking on IMDb, Miguel, I'm not, Ferrero, man, really, he screwed his name up. But, you know, good old Bob Morton. I really like Bob Morton. And then when a part in the movie where, you know, we catch him snorting cocaine and kind of, you know, like, man, this guy's a really cool guy. You know, he really adjusts. He's really comes off like being a cool guy. You know, he's really wanting to do the right thing and stuff. And here he is breaking the law on the side. You know, it's kind of disappointing to see that. And then to see, you know, him die. It's like the way, you know, he got murdered and stuff by the villain. You know, I was really, I don't know really what to say, but like really disappointed, kind of sad at that part. Apart from our hero getting killed at the very beginning of the movie, that's probably like the second saddest moment of it all. And of course, you can't talk about Robocop without the great villain, played by Kurtwood Smith. You know him from that 70s show. I think his name was, what is it, Benedict? I always want to say, no, Clarence Bonnaker. Probably really screwed up his name. But Kurtwood Smith does an excellent job on this as playing the villain. You know, he's not muscular or anything, but he's smart, and he's vicious, and really has no conscience whatsoever. You know, he'll just kill people just because he feels like it at the moment. Brief anger. We see him at the very first of the movie sacrifice his own teammates, his own gang member, just so he could get away. So he's really a ruthless guy, but he plays that part so well, and part where you really want to hate him, and you really hope he gets his just desserts there at the end of the movie. So everything that happens to him, you feel like it's been justified, and you're like really glad that happens to him, and you really, you know, you're like, yeah, man, that bad guy finally got it. Sorry, slow on words right now, trying to think. But Robocop, really enjoyed it. I think it really did age well. I enjoyed it as a kid. Enjoyed it when I just watched it a couple of weeks ago. Some of the special effects, though, has aged. Especially when we talk about that first robot, you could really tell that it's, you know, I was getting ready to say slow motion, but it's, oh man. Yeah, stop motion. Thank you. Stop motion. It really doesn't really flow well. You just can tell that it's not really a real, that, you know, somebody that is stop motion. And then rewatching it, you know, it gets kind of comical, especially when it falls down the stairs and stuff. You just really tell it looks fake, big time. But I will say, like, the features on Robocop, you know, it is a man in a suit. It still looks pretty realistic, especially when he takes off his mask, and, you know, you get his half face and his half helmet. stuff. Like you can really see the wires they put in. It really looks like he's like a cyborg like character. So I think that part really held up. But the robot part, you really can tell they're using stop motion, and it does look pretty fake, real fake actually. But besides that, I think the story about, you know, police force trying to struggling to keep civilians safe on the streets. What is, you know, the right methods to keep this law and order? I really did. I wanted to talk about this at the first of the video, but I forgot, and I'm going to bring back. I really love the commercials of the, you know, they'll be showing like a newscast, but then they have commercials. And I really love those commercials because it kind of showed what kind, like through the commercials, we see what kind of society that they're living in this movie. You know, it really brings out, you know, what kind of world that Robocop is taking place in. So I really love it. Those commercials, I'm glad that they put those in there. And then overall, Robocop is a great movie. I will highly recommend Robocop. I think it's fantastic. If you're into sci-fi, you'll like it. If you love, it's a fantastic 80s movie. I think it plays well, would still play well with today's audience, except for that first robot, which is not only in the movie for what, maybe 2 or 3 minutes. But everything else, the special effects and everything is still, it's still aged very well. So yeah, so definitely would highly recommend Robocop. Fantastic. I have seen the remake. I don't know. I don't like it as much as I do the original one, but I like the original stuff a lot better in remakes. Let's just say that. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for your patience. Have a great day, and bye.